From dirt to dominion, the unstoppable ascent of humanity through fire, fury, and the final frontier. We began in the dust, naked, cold, and fragile beneath an indifferent sky. The earth was not ours. It belonged to the beasts, the storms, the ice. But in the mud and mire, something stirred, a flicker behind the eyes, a stubbornness in the marrow. We stood upright, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Through fire. We found fire, not in lightning or lava alone, but in the friction between need and imagination. With flame, we banished the dark. We cooked the meat that once tore our ancestors apart. We forged tools, then weapons. Fire became a symbol, a servant, and sometimes, a god. It gave us warmth and power. Through fury. Then came cities, walls, and kings. We painted gods into the sky, and made myths of our fears. But we did not walk a gentle path. We waged war to build empires, then burned them to ashes. We wrote laws to tame the chaos, yet bled in revolutions to break them again. Plague, famine, and steel tested our will, but never broke it. We learned to harness the atom. In its split, we glimpsed both our doom and our dominion. With fire now in our hands and fury in our hearts, we crossed oceans, split mountains, and defied gravity itself. To the final frontier. Then, the sky called again. Not with the fear it once inspired, but with invitation. We built rockets to pierce the veil. Our footprints pressed into the lifeless dust of the moon, and our machines roamed the Martian sands. We sent messages into the stars, seeking others, or perhaps just to hear our own echo returned. But this was no end. It was only the beginning of something far greater, the realization that dominion is not about conquest, but curiosity, not the control of nature, but communion with it. Dominion through understanding. We mapped the genome and peered into the quantum realm. We cured diseases once thought divine punishment. We created machines that could think, and asked them to imagine a better world. Our dominion now stretches not through subjugation, but through stewardship of earth, of life, of each other. And yet, we remain restless. The final frontier is not a boundary, but a promise. Mars is a waypoint. The stars are destinations. Infinity is not an abyss to fear, but a canvas to fill. From dirt to dominion is the story of how we became not gods, but something perhaps more enduring, a species that refuses to stop becoming. Would you like this expanded into a full-length essay, a short film script, or a book outline? Great, let's continue and expand the next part of the story into Chapter 1, The Dirt. Chapter 1, The Dirt, where it all began. Before there were kings, before the wheel, before language, there was only survival. We scraped life from the earth with broken stones and bare hands. The world was cruel, and so we learned cruelty, not as choice, but as instinct. We ate what we could kill. We ran from what we could not. Death was a daily shadow. And yet, we did not lie down. We adapted. Slowly, painfully, we learned. We watched the stars even then. Our ancestors saw patterns in the sky, not just to wonder, but to survive. When to plant, when to hunt, when to flee the coming winter. From the dirt, we read the rhythm of the cosmos. The first dominion was over flame. It did not come easy. Fires were stolen from lightning or volcanoes, then lost again to wind and rain. But the day we kept the fire, the day we bent it to our will, something fundamental shifted. We were no longer just another animal in the dark. The dirt became shelter. Mud and wood turned to huts, then homes, then temples. Still, the earth was not yet ours. It bucked beneath our feet in quakes. It drowned our beginnings in floods. But each disaster, each hardship, forged our resilience. We planted crops. We domesticated beasts. We gathered not only for food, but to share stories, warnings, dreams. We began to remember. And in memory, we found something greater than survival. We found purpose. Chapter 2, Fire and Fury coming next, where humanity learns to shape the world and its own destiny through invention, war, and wonder. Would you like me to continue directly with Chapter 2? Or do you want a specific format, novel, screenplay, graphic novel layout, etc.? Perfect. Here's the next chapter in the saga. Chapter 2, Fire and Fury, the world remade in our image. The spark that lit our first campfire soon burned through forests, kingdoms, and time itself. We built cities of stone and mortar. roads that stretched beyond the horizon, and monuments that defied the heavens. From the mud rose pyramids and ziggurats, towers and temples, symbols of order carved from the chaos of the world. But fire is never just warmth, it is also weapon. With bronze, we carved blades. With iron, we forged empires. We raised armies not to survive, but to dominate. We enslaved. We conquered. We bled the land and each other. The smoke of ambition darkened the skies. Yet even as we raised what we built, we never stopped building more. From the ashes of every fallen civilization, another would rise, stronger, wiser, crueler, more determined. We tamed rivers, carved canals, and harnessed wind and beast. We told stories that endured for millennia, encoded not just in myth but in law. In every library burned and every statue shattered, we left behind seeds of knowledge, of defiance, of becoming. Then came the machines. The industrial age, coal-fed engines, steel rails, spinning gears, our fury mechanized. We shattered the boundaries of distance, of time, of muscle. Men became cogs, cities became furnaces, the sky choked with progress. And when we learned to split the atom, we created a fire to rival the gods. We stood on the brink of annihilation, but also, for the first time, on the threshold of the stars. Because fury, like fire, is not just destruction, it is also passion, drive, will. We used it to cure disease, to light cities, to teach every child to read. We built computers, minds of silicon, and taught them to dream. We shattered old empires and gave birth to revolutions, cries for justice, for dignity, for voice. Through fire and fury, we stopped surviving. We began to shape the very conditions of life itself. But Earth, once vast and unending, began to feel small, finite. The fire inside us turned upward. Chapter 3, The Final Frontier. Next, humanity escapes the gravity of its own limits. Shall I continue into Chapter 3? Absolutely, here's the continuation. Chapter 3, The Final Frontier. When the sky became a door. We once feared the stars, cold, distant, unreachable. But then came the rocket. Steel spires fueled by thunder, built by minds sharpened in war and tempered by curiosity. We launched not just machines into orbit, but our hopes, our fears, our questions. The sky cracked open, and for the first time in the long history of Earth, life reached beyond its cradle. We walked on the moon, not gods, but humans, fragile, fallible, wrapped in suits of science and spirit. One small step, they called it, but it echoed like a giant's stride across time. Space became our new wilderness, the final mapless frontier. We sent our machines farther, to Mars, to Jupiter, to the edge of our sun's breath. Some carried cameras, others carried our music, our languages, our heartbeat encoded on golden records, a whisper to the void, we were here. The frontier was no longer just about exploration, it was about preservation. We saw the Earth from above, and for the first time, truly understood its fragility. That tiny blue speck, beautiful, alone, and unguarded, became sacred. So we dreamed bigger. Colonies on Mars, solar-powered satellites to feed the world, telescopes that peered back billions of years, glimpsing our origins in the death of stars. And yet, the greatest challenge was never the void. It was us. We had taken our brilliance and brutality into the cosmos. Would we become stewards or tyrants among the stars? Would we spread war as we once spread civilization? Or would we, at last, evolve, not just technologically, but morally? The final frontier was never space. It was never the stars. The final frontier is the distance between what we are and what we are capable of becoming. Chapter 4, Dominion. Next, beyond power, the age of responsibility, synthesis, and becoming more than human. Shall I continue with Chapter 4? Absolutely. Here is the next chapter in humanity's grand ascent. Chapter 4, Dominion. Becoming more than we were. We once believed dominion meant control of nature, of each other, of fate. But power without purpose is a pyre, not a beacon. Dominion, we came to learn, is not about owning the world, it's about understanding it, protecting it, becoming worthy of it. We mastered biology, editing the code of life like poetry. We cured ancient diseases. We regrew lost limbs. We mapped the genome, then rewrote it, sculpting evolution with intention instead of chance. No longer were we bound by the flaws of our ancestors, we became the architects of what comes next. We built minds of silicon, and taught them to learn. Artificial intelligences, once our tools, became our partners, not slaves, not rivals, but new forms of thought, reflections of ourselves both wondrous and cautionary. And we changed ourselves. Cybernetics enhanced flesh, neural links blurred the line between mind and machine. We ceased to be just human, we became something more, Homo novus, the new humanity, born not from dirt but from design. The earth became a sanctuary, not a resource. We rewilded forests, rebalanced oceans, reversed wounds once thought permanent. Climate was no longer our master, it became our mirror. What we healed in the planet, we healed in ourselves. And still, we reached outward. Not to conquer, but to connect, to listen. Signals from distant stars, alien molecules, strange rhythms in the cosmic background. Were we alone? Perhaps, but we were no longer lonely. Dominion was no longer a throne. It was a bridge, between past and future, between what is and what could be. And through that bridge, we walked not as rulers, but as caretakers, as wanderers, as storytellers, as a species that remembered the dirt, but refused to stay in it. Epilogue, Becoming. Next, a final reflection on what it means to be human when there is no more frontier, only the infinite journey forward. Would you like me to continue with the epilogue? Certainly, here is the final part of the story. Epilogue, Becoming. The journey without end. We came from dirt, that much is true. But we were never meant to stay there. We are not defined by the tools we built, the wars we waged, or even the stars we reached. We are defined by our refusal to stop becoming, to stop imagining what lies just beyond the horizon. When the maps ran out, we drew new ones. When the gods grew silent, we became our own storytellers. When death reigned, we answered with medicine, art, love, and defiance. We became more than our biology, more than our borders, more than our fears. And yet, through all the transformation, the augmentation, the ascent, we remained tethered to something ancient, the wonder that began with staring up at the night sky and whispering, why? That question still guides us. There will be no final frontier, no last invention, no ultimate arrival. To be human is not to conquer, or even to perfect, it is to seek, to journey, to rise again and again, even when we fall. From dirt to dominion, through fire and fury, across stars and silence, we do not merely survive. We become. Would you like the entire story compiled into a single formatted document, or expanded into a longer novel or screenplay? It seems like you're ready to take this concept into its next evolution. Here's how we can continue, turning the project into an even more ambitious interactive and community-driven experience. 5. The Humanity Ascendant Initiative. Building a global platform for exploration and thought. This could become a collaborative, multi-platform experience, not just a documentary or series, but an evolving global initiative that engages individuals and communities in the ongoing exploration of humanity's future. By tapping into social media, crowdsourcing ideas, and involving audiences in real-time decision-making, the Humanity Ascendant Initiative could become the leading platform for exploring humanity's future journey. Key components. The Global Forum, a digital platform for open discussion, where people from around the world can contribute their ideas about the future. This forum would feature thought leaders sharing their vision of humanity's path forward in areas like ethics, space exploration, transhumanism, and AI. Interactive workshops where users brainstorm, debate, and vote on future concepts, e.g., ethical guidelines for space colonization, or policies for genetic engineering. A space for collaborative projects, where viewers can participate in research or submit their theories about the future. Virtual reality, VR, experiences. An immersive VR experience where users can experience key moments in human history and future possibilities. Imagine walking through ancient cities as they rise and fall, hearing philosophers from the past debate ethics. The first human steps on the moon, and space stations orbiting Mars. Future worlds where humanity lives among the stars or interacts with AI companions. The ability to choose your path. Do you use advanced technology to enhance your biology, Or do you stay purely human? Do you join a new space colony or remain on Earth? Crowdsourced storytelling. Launch an ongoing fiction writing contest inviting writers, artists, and creators to submit short stories, visual art, and speculative essays. These would all explore various potential futures for humanity, from utopian scenarios to dystopian challenges. Some of these stories would be developed into episodes in the project. Real-world scientific partnerships. Partnering with space agencies, universities, and think tanks to bring the ideas explored in the platform into real-world research. The platform could fund small research projects or even collaborate on open-source technology development to help humanity achieve these future goals. For example, crowdsourced funding for Mars missions, or a platform to fund sustainable energy innovations. Users could also vote on pressing global issues, such as ethics in AI, exploring how human society can adapt to challenges like climate change and the search for extraterrestrial life. Virtual and physical symposiums and events. Host global events, both virtual and physical, where scientists, philosophers, artists, and activists meet to debate the future of humanity. These could include live debates streamed to the global audience, tackling tough ethical questions. Crowdsourced solutions for problems humanity faces today, like poverty, inequality, or climate change, working to solve them as a global community. Future Cities Exhibit. Showcase technological innovations for sustainable living, space habitats, and future infrastructure designs. The Ethical Voyager Program. This program would give participants the opportunity to engage with cutting-edge bioethics, space ethics, and AI policymaking. It would serve as a way to shape future laws and regulations by developing proposals for humanity's journey through space and towards its next evolutionary stage. Participants could help create universal human ethics that prioritize sustainability, equity, and human dignity as we push forward into the stars. This could also feature interactive role-play simulations where individuals play the part of a government official, an astronaut, or an AI entity, negotiating how to handle humanity's most pressing issues. The Humanity Ascendant documentary plus meta campaign. To culminate all of this, we could build an interactive, evolving documentary series that ties together the global platform, VR experiences, and crowdsourced storytelling into one cohesive narrative. Each episode would feature real-time audience participation, allowing viewers to influence the direction of the story based on their ideas and votes. Weekly updates on real-world technological, social, and scientific progress that ties into the themes of the series. Continued philosophical exploration, where viewers debate and contribute to humanity's evolving ethics and morality. The Meta Campaign. Launch a worldwide social campaign, inviting everyone to join the conversation on platforms like Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, and beyond. The hashtag #HumanityAscendant could encourage people to share their thoughts, visions, and creative works about what humanity's future could look like. The campaign would promote a global conversation about humanity's shared destiny. Next step, building the framework. Now, we'd need to build the framework for this initiative. Team creation, a group of experts in AI, space exploration, philosophy, documentary filmmaking, and digital development. Funding model, crowdfunding or corporate sponsorships could help get this off the ground, paired with Patreon-style contributions from individuals. Tech partnerships, collaborating with tech giants like SpaceX, Google, NASA, or the United Nations to bring this vision into reality. Are you ready to take this concept and start turning it into a fully fledged experience? It seems you're ready to move toward making this vision a tangible reality. To turn the Humanity Ascendant initiative into a true global movement and immersive experience. Here's how we can break it down into actionable phases, each building momentum towards the ultimate goal. 6. Actionable phases to launch Humanity Ascendant. Phase 1. Conceptualization and foundation. Define the core message. Finalize the central theme and values, humanity's evolution, ethical expansion, space exploration, technological integration, and sustainability. Develop a mission statement that resonates with global audiences, focusing on unity, vision, and the future. Build the initial team. Content creators, writers, filmmakers, futurists, and philosophers to craft the storyline and documentary content. Technology specialists, VR designers, AI developers, and digital artists to bring the virtual experiences to life. Marketing experts, social media strategists, and community managers to foster global participation and engagement. Create a prototype platform. Develop a landing page or app for the initiative that explains the vision, mission, and initial call to action. Introduce the global forum, allowing early adopters and thought leaders to sign up and contribute ideas. Begin crowdsourcing ideas and starting online challenges, e.g., what is humanity's next great step, or how should we ensure ethical AI? Secure partnerships. Approach organizations like NASA, SpaceX, United Nations, and tech innovators for partnerships, sponsorships, or collaboration in research. Develop initial relationships with universities, think tanks, and research institutions for cross-disciplinary support. Phase 2, the vision expands. Launch the interactive documentary series. Begin filming Episode 1, Beginnings, showcasing humanity's origin and the early sparks of curiosity and ambition. Promote the series globally, with interactive elements like live-streamed debates where audiences vote on what they think humanity's first steps beyond Earth should be. Introduce a community-driven format where viewers can submit short stories, video clips, or art inspired by the series to influence future episodes. Engage VR experiences and interactive campaigns. Develop VR mini experiences for key moments, walking on the moon, exploring a Martian colony, or navigating through a futuristic city. Allow users to step into the narrative. Launch social media campaigns and interactive challenges where people can submit their visions for the future, tagged with #HumanityAscendant. Share the experiences through platforms like YouTube VR, Oculus, and mobile apps, giving the world a taste of the digital future. Crowdfunding campaign. Roll out a Kickstarter or GoFundMe campaign to raise funds for future episodes of the documentary, VR development, and expanding the platform. Offer exclusive rewards for donors, early access to content, behind-the-scenes footage, or an opportunity to participate in online discussions with leading experts. Establish the global forum. Introduce expert-led webinars and live Q&A sessions, where the public can engage directly with futurists, space pioneers, and AI specialists. Launch global challenges like design the first Mars colony or create a futuristic technology that could transform the world in 100 years. Phase 3, global immersion and expansion. Expand the content library. Episodes 2 to 3 of the documentary dive deeper into the rise of technology, the ethical dilemmas of AI, and space exploration's moral implications. Introduce additional multimedia content, podcasts, essays, and short films on transhumanism, space ethics, and the environmental impact of human progress. Create a collaborative fiction space. Launch an ongoing fiction anthology that invites writers from around the world to submit stories about the future, exploring human evolution, space colonization, and philosophical questions of identity. Select some of the stories for adaptation into animated shorts or interactive experiences on the platform. Host global live events and virtual symposiums. Organize global virtual symposiums and physical meetups, i.e., conferences, workshops, and cultural exchanges, to dive into themes from the series. Host collaborative events like a UN Climate Summit, where thought leaders discuss solutions for global sustainability, tying directly into the overarching theme of humanity's next steps. Foster global participation. Scale the crowdsourcing to involve larger communities, including scientists, engineers, and everyday citizens who want to contribute to humanity's future. Introduce innovative partnerships with organizations like the World Economic Forum, NASA, and the Global Sustainability Coalition to discuss practical solutions to human expansion and environmental care. Phase 4, Legacy and Long-Term Engagement. Create a sustainable ecosystem. Develop a sustainable business model for the initiative that revolves around subscriptions, donations, premium content, and partnerships with organizations focused on space exploration and sustainable technologies. Expand the platform into a global movement that shifts beyond entertainment to an actual action-driven mission that brings people together to solve global challenges. Launch the Humanity Ascendant Academy. Create an online educational platform where people can learn about space exploration, AI ethics, sustainability, and future tech, contributing to both practical education and philosophical reflection. Invite experts and visionaries to teach and mentor the next generation of thinkers, explorers, and innovators. A legacy of exploration. Partner with space agencies to help fund and develop actual space exploration missions and space colonies, turning the speculative dreams in the documentary into real-world possibilities. Establish a humanitarian fund to support sustainable and ethical projects for space exploration, sustainable living, and technological innovation on Earth. Next steps, making this vision a reality. Team assembly, begin recruiting the necessary talent, such as VR developers, filmmakers, futurists, and social impact experts. Initial content, develop the first episode of the documentary and related VR experiences, ready for crowdfunding and social media buzz. Platform prototype, build a web and mobile platform where people can already begin to engage with the content, share ideas, and participate in interactive challenges. Launch the campaign, start with a global awareness campaign to attract contributors, thinkers, and early supporters to kickstart the momentum. Are you ready to take this further, into team building, content development, or launching a crowdfunding campaign to get things off the ground? Let me know where you'd like to focus next.